At 11:40 p.m., the Titanic was still sailing through the freezing Atlantic Ocean. More than 2,200 people were on board. Most of them had no idea that they had less than 3 hours left to live. Titanic was enormous, nearly 269 meters long, weighing more than 46,000 tons. It was one of the largest and most luxurious ships ever built. But that night, its size would not save it. At 11:40 p.m., the lookout suddenly spotted something terrifying. An iceberg. It was directly ahead. The alarm was raised. The crew desperately tried to turn the ship, but the iceberg was too close. Titanic struck it. The impact seemed relatively small from above, but below the waterline, something catastrophic was happening. Several compartments began filling with freezing seawater, and the Titanic had been designed to survive flooding in only a limited number of compartments. This time, too many were damaged. At first, many passengers didn't even realize they were in danger. Some felt only a strange vibration. Others continued talking and walking through the ship. But the crew knew the truth. Titanic was sinking. At around 12:45 a.m., the first lifeboat was launched. And here came one of the greatest tragedies. There were more than 2,200 people on board, but the lifeboats could hold only around 1,178. There simply wasn't enough space for everyone. As the ship's bow sank lower, distress signals were sent into the darkness. The Titanic's wireless operators desperately called for help. Another ship, Carpathia, received the message, but it was still hours away. On Titanic, panic was growing. Passengers were being moved toward the lifeboats. Some lifeboats left with empty seats because people were afraid to get into them. Meanwhile, seawater continued rushing into the ship. The bow sank deeper. The stern began rising higher. By around 2 a.m., the situation had become almost impossible to control. The lights were still glowing. People were still desperately trying to escape. Then, at approximately 2:18 a.m., the Titanic's structure began to fail. The enormous ship could no longer support its own weight. It broke apart. One section disappeared into the darkness. The stern rose dramatically into the air and then vanished beneath the freezing Atlantic. At approximately 2:20 a.m. on April 15, 1912, the Titanic was gone. More than 1,500 people lost their lives. Hundreds were left in lifeboats, surrounded by an enormous, freezing ocean. And perhaps the most haunting part? The Titanic had been considered one of the greatest achievements of modern engineering.